Are very creative. We know that we are extremely talented. And when you think about Nigeria and you think about their creative industries, you speak about Afro beats, their music, their fashion. Oh my goodness, I love Nigerian fashion so much. Think about old Nollywood movies, the ones that went all over the world, that had us all looking closely to our screens. Social media is also building up as one of those economies that have become at the forefront of the industries here in the African continent, but particularly in Nigeria, as short comedy videos, also known as skits, circulating on social media, have created a booming industry in Nigeria for the past couple of years. And we're looking at this phenomenon that represents more than just a major new entertainment thread. It's highlighting the ingenuity of young Nigerians in using technology to create livelihoods and influence culture. And in the process, they contribute to the national economic growth. Today, we're looking at the skit economy of Nigeria. And, we're speaking about this as we look at the rise of an industry chronicled by a 2024 book titled The Skit Economy by someone who's joining us today, entrepreneurship scholar and polling guru, Bell Ihua. His work is supported by findings from the African Polling Institute, speaking about the skit economy of Nigeria. Bell, thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, Professor, we are so happy to have you this morning. This is interesting. As we were talking about this particular conversation before we brought you in, Ben and I were speaking about what exactly a skit is. Because we remember back in the Nollywood days, the likes of Mr. Ibu that really had all of Africa, and here in South Africa as well, grappled to our TV screens, buying DVDs at the movie stores, making sure that we're catching up on all episodes. So maybe let's start there. For someone who's well researched in this particular sector, what makes a skit different from a movie? What is a skit?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. Well, I think you've answered it. A skit is a short extract from a long creative content or creative material that's intended to either pass a message or make the audience laugh or make the audience, giggle or smile. So it's a very short extract, usually from a longer, production. And you rightly said it. How it started was initially people would cut out clips from Nollywood videos or from music and put them online and, create just funny memes out of them, and people laugh. But then people began to see that this was interesting and this was, going viral and getting likes and getting viewership. And those viewership can ultimately be translated to resources, to money. And people thought, okay, we should actually not just be cutting existing clips, we should be producing newer clips and putting up. So for that, 1 minute or 30 seconds clip that you see that makes you laugh, there is a whole economy around them. And that was the idea for, writing the book, The Skit Economy. So there's an economy around that. For that 1 minute or 30 second skit you see, there's a cameraman, there's a boom mic, there's a producer, there's someone that does costume, there's someone that, would edit. Ultimately, there's someone who will put it online, there's someone who will help monetize. So the whole ecosystem around that creates what we call the skit economy.
It's interesting that you use the word ecosystem. That means there is an infrastructure that's actually built around something that could actually just take like 3 to 5 minutes to see online or even less, right? Could you tell us a little bit about how this has developed into such a serious industry in Nigeria? Because it seems like a lot of money is being poured into these.
Well, thank you very much. The skits ecosystem is a subset of the wider creative or entertainment, or what we now call the content creation ecosystem, which spans comedy, film, music, art, travel and tourism, fashion, talk show, podcast, you name it. The beauty of it is that there was what you call the audience for it. So when we conducted our research at Africa Polling Institute, the think tank which I head, we found out that 67% of Nigeria's population say they watch comedy skits. So that is already a huge market for comedy skits. And if 67% of the population will watch this, it means there was money to be made from it. So looking at data, putting that in perspective, as of 2020, I think it was PwC that put Nigeria's entertainment sector at $6.7 billion, with anticipation that it was going to grow to about $15 billion by 2025. Now, the Nigeria's skit economy or skit sector within that bigger subsector is set towards around $30 to $35 million alone. And this is from whether you're talking about the jobs that is being created or monetization or the income that the entrepreneurs are earning. So yes, it's part of a wider ecosystem, but we've seen it growing in leaps and bounds since 2017, 2018. Of course, COVID blew it because people were home, bored, not doing much, and they were looking for ways to keep themselves entertained and keep themselves busy. They resorted to going on their phones to watch these skits, and the skits went haywire.
Absolutely. I want to break this down, this skit economy, to the creator themselves, the creator that we see on our phones, the creator we see on our social media platforms. Because if I'm comparing this to a similar form of entertainment, being the Nollywood movies that were longer form, back in the day, we used to buy the DVDs and then we'd see them on TV, and then we'd watch the movies on TV. We'd also be able to purchase them, and that was direct sales towards the creator. But these days, you can have, 10,000 people watching your skit. That doesn't particularly mean it's a direct sale. How are the creators monetizing the skits?
Okay, well, it's interesting because there are several revenue streams when it comes to this whole skit economy. So first of all, we must say that the rise of the digital era and social media platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, and Snapchat, played a huge role in, making sure that this becomes possible, that there were platforms readily looking for content such that if content were put on those platforms and there was a viewership for that, those content will ultimately be monetized and, be turned to income for whoever created or produced those content. But in terms of money revenue streams, one, we've seen monetization on social media platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, and the rest. So a very successful, content creator can earn up to $20,000 to $40,000 per month. Wow. Making content. While those who are really successful, the big ones, are said to earn up to $1 million per annum. But of course, this is tied to the quality of your video and how viral it goes, such that maybe over 100 million people or 50 million people view it, like it, enjoy it, then you get that. That's what monetization is the first. The second is ads. When these content creators become popular and become big, brands or businesses or individuals or whoever has information to put out there, engage them to help them put out those information. So ads or sponsored posts, as they're called, can cost up to 3 to 5 million per post, and in some cases up to 10 million naira in Nigeria terms now per post. So that's another way to make money. But the third way is brand ambassadorship. These guys, have become now social influencers of some sorts, and brands will begin to call them to hold ambassadorship or endorsements in such brands. So they make money from that. Sometimes, because they are now known figures, they are invited to participate in films, in movies. And other times, they even gain their own strength to begin to produce their own movies on the back of the work that they've done. And lastly, sometimes they charge for live appearances. So you can pay as much as 20 million, 30 million to have one of these, the very top ones, attend your program, and you can market that program on the back of the fact that this fellow, I don't want to call any names now, but this fellow is going to attend my event. And people say, wow, he's going to attend your event. We will be there. So live appearances, they also earn money. So these are the various ways they earn money. But it's a very opaque system.
Mm-hmm. Professor,
because of tax issues and all of that.
Sure.
They don't really want to tell you, but we know from our research the kind of ranges that they earn from these various streams.
Sorry to stop you there, Professor. We need to take a bit of a break, but I want you to speak to us around those opaque areas of payment, of receiving payment, but also the possibilities therein, because it seems like also there's a sense of ownership from the content creators themselves. But we'll speak about those issues after the break. We're speaking to Professor Bell Ihua, entrepreneurship scholar and executive director at the Africa Polling Institute. Seems like content creators are making money in Nigeria, man.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time.
On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Manela, what is the meaning of IDK?
I don't know.
Do you ever know anything? Olodo, anything they ask you, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes!
You are going to school for nothing. Manela, what is the meaning of...
I love that one.
I used to love Emmanuel. I think she was one of the first skit makers that, became popular in Nigeria.
Yeah. Wonderful one there. But we're speaking about comedy skit makers and how there is kind of an economy running around them, but also how they're also creating that economy themselves. But it's also contributing to Nigeria's entertainment industry. And helping us on this discussion, we joined by Professor Bell Ihua, an entrepreneurship scholar and executive director at Africa Polling Institute, and also wrote a big book around this particular issue titled The Skit Economy. Professor, coming back to what you wanted to address before the break was that fact that, there is an opaque system on payments, on the whole financial infrastructure side of how these creators are operating. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, thanks again. As I said, there is an opaque system because, the content creators do not want you to know exactly how much they earn because of tax issues. Again, because they receive very little to no support from government to, hone their craft and to put out their works. And of course, they face certain challenges in the system. So when that happens, they do not want to reveal, how much they are making. We can only make estimations. We know that, for example, a sponsored post costs between 3 to 5 million on average, but the very big boys can charge up to 10, sometimes more million naira for that. We also know that doing the math, that a successful skit maker makes between 20 to 40,000. The big boys, I just saw you put the clip of Mark Angel there and Emanuela. They are part of what do you call the first generation of the A-League, and they're making up to over $1 million per annum. So we can only make these conjectures based on our analysis, but because of the opaque nature, we cannot tell specifically because they like to keep their incomes private.
For someone who's looking into this, where do you see this economy heading? Because, social media is big right now. Technology will continue to be big. But there's also something quite fickle about social media because trends come in and out. I'm not saying that comedy will ever run out of business, because we do need to laugh as a people and we love to laugh as a people. But which direction is the skit economy headed?
Well, in my book, I had predicted that it was going to grow geometrically. But what I've seen that it has even surpassed geometric progression, because there are trends that are driving this whole thing. For example, I tell you what, if you want to get into the skit space or the content creation space, one, for example, look for something novel, something original, something fresh. If you think you've seen it all in the skit sector, just wait a little while. You see someone that will put out another creative content that will bust you out and will let you know that you ain't seen nothing yet. So as long as the originality, the novelty, the freshness continues, you still continue to see work. That's one. Secondly, is you have to understand your niche. There are so many niches in this space now, whether you want to do the classic just for laughs, traditional comedy, or you want to take it into pranks, or you want to do movie extracts. There are those who are relationship experts. There are those who are blind date experts. There are those whose comedy is based on loyalty tests. There are those who just do confessions or conflict resolutions.
Yeah.
There are those who do talk shows. There are those who do philanthropy, just going out to help people. So having a niche, understanding your niche and specializing in your niche. Then another trend is having multiple characters. We've seen that as a skit maker, comedy skit maker, having just a single character may not be the best. You must know how to have multiple characters. If you see an artist like Lasisi Elenu, for example, he has several characters. He has Lasisi, the young ranter. He has Mama Lasisi, Itoha, Anayo, Sinzu Money, the Yahoo boy, Barrister, Atomic Bomb, Dr. Coca, Zadi, and all of that. You see someone like Brain Jota. He has Brain Jota himself. He has Pastor Jota of Church of Shakomotele, Kopa Preku. You see Tao, she has the same. So as a creative, you must be able to have different, characters. You must be able to play different characters. You see also that there's also a role of recognition from major online social influencers. So your work has not gained significance if, for example, a Tunde Ednut or a Don Jazzy or a Very Dark Man VDM has not posted your work. So there is a role for social influencers. Then there's also the socio-political relevance and timeliness. Now, we had a recent issue in Nigeria where a minister was engaged with a military officer, and the next day, so many skits, comedians turned that into skits. That should just tell you that there is also the issue about the social relevance, the social timeliness of that can drive a trend and make sure that your video goes viral when you put it out. Then, of course, you have the giveaways, people who, as part of their skits, say, I'm going to give out call cards, today, 50 people, just give me your account, I'm going to do giveaways. It also drives the whole process. Then, of course, you have things like partnership, clustering, those who work within clusters, and mentorship. So there are nuances to this. So, for example, what you put on Facebook is different from, or the audience that consumes on Facebook is different from the audience that consumes on Instagram, and totally different from the audience that consumes, on other platforms like X or Snapchat, for example. So you have much of the younger generation, the Gen Zs, operating within the Snapchats and all of that. While you have the older generation still on Facebook, you have more of the mid-range on Instagram, and you have a mix on YouTube. So understanding a bit of the demography and how to really engage them, plays a huge role in some of this.
Well, Professor, such an insightful conversation, especially when it comes to something that can be seen just in a light-hearted way. But behind it seems like there is a lot of work and a lot of money being actually made there. So it's encouraging to hear that from you. Where can we get your book, Professor Ihua?
It's online. It's on Amazon. If you just Google Skit Economy on Amazon, you'll find it, and I believe it delivers everywhere in the world.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us here on Channel Africa.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's Professor Bell Ihua, entrepreneurship scholar and executive director at the Africa Polling Institute, but also the author of The Skit Economy. We need to now create skits.
Hey, Benji.
Share those millions.
Are you even funny?
Those millions.
Are you even funny, sir?
You know, those millions.
Money.
You need to hear about those millions.
It's 10:31 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest sports news with Musibudi Makura.